Hey guys, Tom here from the Investing with Tom YouTube channel. Welcome back to the channel. If you enjoyed today's video, hit like, hit subscribe, and that way you can see future videos as well. So today's video is all about investing your first $10,000 into the stock market and some of the things to think about when you're going about doing that. Now, this is a follow-up video to my how to invest $1,000, which I did on the channel a few months ago, and everyone seemed to really enjoy. So I hope you enjoy this one equally. But before we get into that, we do have a sponsor for today's video, and today's sponsor is Hatch. Now, Hatch are the platform that I have been using for a couple of years now in terms of doing all of my US investing. So I initially switched across because of very low fees compared to one of the banks that I was traditionally using in the past, but they also have some very cool things coming up. So one of the things they're working on at the moment is getting kids investment portfolios up and running. So I will leave a link down in the description to that if you're interested in finding out more about setting up a kids investment account. And the other thing that they have recently added is a referral program. So if you enjoy Hatch and you want to sort of get your friends involved as well, you can send them a referral link. When your friend signs up, you'll both get 10 New Zealand dollars added to your Hatch account. So if you're interested in getting started with Hatch, I will put a link up on the screen here, hatch.as/investingwithtom. If you sign up using that link, deposit $100 into your account, you will get an additional 20 New Zealand dollars added. It's free money. There's absolutely no downside to taking up that offer, so feel free to check that one out. I will leave the link down in the description, but for now, let's get into the video. Alright, the other thing I always say with this type of video is this is not investment advice. This is just my opinion and some of the things that I would consider doing when investing my first $10,000 into the stock market, and it doesn't represent the views of Hatch either for that matter. This is just a guy on the internet talking to a camera, so entertainment purposes only, of course. Now, when you're investing your first $10,000 into the stock market, I think there's a couple of things that we need to consider, and there's a little bit of overlap with the goals that we also set up in the investing your first $1,000 video. Now, the first thing I think we want to avoid is a permanent loss of capital. You know, we don't want you to have a really bad experience investing your first $10,000 and have that flow on to you being a reluctant investor when you get to $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million, hopefully at some point in the future. You know, we don't want you to have a really bad experience up front, which means that you're going to be less inclined to put money to work later in life, where the gains are going to be much more substantial just because you've got more capital invested. So that's the first thing we want to avoid, is a really bad experience, which basically means we don't want to lose money over the long term. And the second thing we want to avoid is, as counterintuitive as it sounds, making too much money. So we want to avoid basically setting unrealistic expectations. So, you know, if you went out a few months ago and put money into Tesla stock, for example, has been a very hot stock these last few months or the last year, you would have made an enormous return on your money. I don't even know where it's at the moment off the top of my head. I'll put a screenshot up. But I think that is setting unrealistic expectations. You are not going to make 500% a year on your investments. If you could do that over any substantial period of time, you would soon own basically all the wealth on the earth, and that's just not realistic. So those two sort of goals, not losing money permanently and not setting unrealistic expectations, are kind of going to be the guiding forces for picking investments for your first $10,000. Now, in my opinion, a great place for most people to start, particularly at this scale, is something called an ETF. And if you don't know what an ETF is, basically that stands for Exchange Traded Fund. And an exchange traded fund is basically just a group of securities with a specific goal, which you can buy that entire basket by only purchasing one stock on the public market. So a very common example of that here in New Zealand is the New Zealand Top 50 Fund. That trades as sort of a public stock, just like an individual company might. You can go out and buy shares in the New Zealand Top 50 Fund, make one transaction, and you're instantly diversified across 50 top companies here in New Zealand. Now, that was one of the first things that I invested in probably about 3 years ago now when I first got started. And there's plenty of those broad market indices all around the world, depending on where you would prefer to invest. So in New Zealand, we've got the NZ Top 50. In Australia, we've got the All Ordinaries or the ASX 200 or the ASX 300. A whole bunch of them there. Or in the US, we've got something like the S&P 500 index fund, which is going to spread you across the largest 500 companies in the US. So you're going to get the likes of Apple and Amazon and Google and Facebook and Microsoft and so on. And it's a really nice way to instantly diversify you so that you basically don't have too many eggs in one basket with a lot of your money in one individual company. And it also helps you save on transaction fees because you actually only have to make one trade to get diversified across that entire basket because you're buying directly into an ETF, which spreads you out automatically. Now, there are a couple of core things I would personally focus on if you do choose to select an ETF. The first one is I have a very strong preference for a broad market index. And what I mean by a broad market index is basically an ETF that tracks the stock market of an entire country or even the entire world. There are total world indexes out there as well. And why I have a preference for that is basically there's a whole bunch of other ETF products that are essentially almost getting into the stock picking area. So you can buy things like technology ETFs, you can buy emerging market ETFs, you can buy environmentally friendly ETFs, you can buy all sorts of stuff like that. Gaming ETFs, there's everything under the sun, which gets much more into picking individual sectors and doesn't necessarily line up with the things that we're trying to achieve through this first investment, which is no permanent loss of capital, at least over the long term. It's much more unlikely if you hold this thing for 10 or 20 years that you're going to have a permanent loss of capital if you're spread across a broad index across a country. But if you're if you're just focused on one sector, maybe it's clean energy or something at the moment, and that happens to be in a bubble which you don't recognize, that can have very bad consequences for your investment returns long term. So definitely I would focus on just a broad market index. And the other thing I would do is take advantage of the power of reinvesting your dividends. So one of the great things that many index funds do is they're filled with these profitable companies which basically have nothing better to do with their cash other than to pay it out to shareholders, which is fantastic if you're an investor. And with index funds, most of the time you have an easy option to set up a dividend reinvestment program. Again, that's something I've set up with something like an NZ Top 50 fund, where you can basically have those dividends automatically reinvested to buy more shares in that ETF. And over time, you get this snowballing effect. So if you have your $10,000 invested in an ETF in year one, you maybe get paid a 5% dividend. So the next year you've got roughly $10,500. You'll now get paid a dividend on that $10,500 because you own slightly more shares. You'll get a slightly larger dividend. The year after that, you'll have slightly more shares, a slightly larger dividend, and it just sort of snowballs, hopefully out of control upwards. So that's one of the really useful things with ETF investing, and particularly ETFs that pay large dividends. Now, if ETFs aren't something that excites you as much as picking individual companies, or you feel like you're someone that is really good at analyzing and understanding how a business operates, I think option number 2 for your $10,000 is to pick anywhere from 1 to 3 individual companies or individual stocks. I still don't think, and I may get some pushback on this, but I still don't think you're at a scale where you really need to own 10 or 20 or 30 companies. At that point, you're basically an index fund anyway. So I think you should really kind of get your feet wet in terms of analyzing individual businesses and following those individual companies really, really closely to get a really powerful understanding of what they actually do. So with $10,000, I think that's probably going to land you in the 1 to 3 stock kind of area. It's a full-time job to understand more than 10 businesses in my personal opinion. So 1 to 3 is kind of the ballpark that I sit in. A lot of people will tell you much higher numbers than that, but that's kind of where I sort of feel comfortable is owning that number of companies. And there's a few things that I would look at before making an investment into an individual company. Now, the thing that I focus on with pretty much all my investments in individual stocks is the 4 M's, and this comes from a guy by the name of Phil Town, which many of you may or may not be familiar with. And Phil Town basically has this 4M checklist that he got initially from Charlie Munger up here. So the investment checklist basically goes like this, and there are many sub-points kind of within it, but these are general high-level sort of headings of things you want to look at. So the first one is meaning, basically, do you understand the business? If you're looking at Apple, do you understand how they make money? Yes, they sell iPhones, they sell services like Apple Music, they have to pay expenses in their factories and for research and development, and understanding all the components that go into what drive profitability in that business. The second thing is the moat. So does this business have some sort of competitive advantage which will allow them to be larger in 10 years than they are today? So with Apple, that's going to be something like a brand. Potentially they have some sort of advantage in terms of the technology they use and the user interface over something like Samsung or another sort of cell phone manufacturer or computer manufacturer. Apple is also a great example of a company that has what you would call a switching mode, which basically means it's a massive pain in the butt to switch away from Apple. Now, other companies that might have switching modes would be something like Facebook. So Facebook is really good because all of your friends are using it. It has this sort of network effect. And it's unlikely that I could go out and start my own social media company and have it grow because Facebook are just extremely dominant, and that's where everyone is. So look for some sort of competitive advantage that will mean that company is going to be much larger in 10 years than it is today. Management is the next one. So understand who's running this business. At the end of the day, you're buying ownership in a company. So look at it just like if you were to buy a business down the road. If you were going to buy a laundromat or a tire shop or something, you know, look at who's going to be running that business, do some digging on the CEO, watch some interviews that they've done, read their letters to shareholders, see how they communicate to the owners of the business, and really get a feel for who is running that company. And the 4th M from Phil Town is margin of safety, which basically means understand what the company is worth in your personal opinion, what's a reasonable price to pay for that business, and then basically cut that number in half and see if you can get it at a much more attractive price. Be patient, wait till the business has some sort of short-term headwind, and see if you can pick it up at a really attractive price. And I've got several videos on the channel looking at valuation. I'll leave one of them linked up in one of the corners. I forget which one, but I'll leave a link to one of them. So definitely check that out and have a large focus on valuation when you buy these companies. So that's my general checklist with buying individual businesses. There are really 3 things that in this particular situation I think you could focus on with your initial $10,000 investment. So the first thing I think, which you should make an absolute prerequisite because this is probably one of your earlier investments, is that this should be a clone. And what I mean by a clone is it should be an individual company or a couple of individual companies that a great famous investor also owns. And I'm going to give you a list of investors. I'm just going to rattle some off because these are all investors that I follow really closely. So Warren Buffett, of course. So you can check out his company, Berkshire Hathaway. Charlie Munger at the Daily Journal. Monish Prabrai at Prabrai Investment Funds. Guy Spear at the Aquamarine Fund. Lee Lu at Himalaya Capital. David Tepper, I forget his fund's name, but that's also a good one to check out as well. Bill Miller, again, I forget his fund's name, but Bill Miller is a great one to check out. So there's a good sort of initial list of investors to follow. Basically, all you need to do is Google Warren Buffett and then 13F. Now, 13F filing, if you don't know, is a public filing that large investors in the US have to make each quarter, and it will basically tell you what stocks they own. So if I was making this video 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been able to tell you that Warren Buffett just made Apple his biggest investment, and if you'd gone out and cloned the investment that Warren Buffett was making in Apple at the time, that would have been about a 3x on your money over these last few years now that Apple's gone from roughly $130 a share, I think, when Buffett started buying, to like $380 today. So make cloning a prerequisite. If there's a really large, simple, easy to understand business out there and it doesn't happen to be in a 13F of one of these great investors, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are probably not smarter than all of them, and there is probably something you're missing. Either it's too expensive or there's some issue with the business that you've missed. If those really large, really intelligent investors don't own it, you should probably take a pass on it, especially for your first investment. And two final things, I think when you buy individual stocks, definitely hold them for the long term. So treat them like ownership in a business or like you just bought a rental property, and hold them for an extended period of time. Guy Spear, who wrote The Education of a Value Investor, which is one of these books back here, and it's fantastic. He talks about having an absolute minimum of a 2-year holding period. So as soon as you make a decision on your first stock or first 3 stocks, whatever it ends up being, he talks about holding it for a bare minimum of 2 years, regardless pretty much of what happens with the business. That's a rule that I also try to follow. There's been one exception to that recently where I just flat out made an analytical mistake. But by and large, we try to hold businesses for the long term. If you can get them at that margin of safety discounted price, then the chances that they appreciate to intrinsic value over 2 or 3 or 4 years is very, very high, assuming that you've done everything correctly. So those are my top tips on investing your first $1,000. Of course, entertainment purposes only, but I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in the Hatch offer, feel free to go to the link that's on the screen here, hatch.as/investingwithtom. I'll also leave links down in the description below to the Kids Investment Program and the Referral Program. If you're interested in any of those, links will be down in the description. But I do hope you enjoyed the video, so please hit like, hit subscribe. You can watch some older videos over there. Hit subscribe over there if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.